What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for our final episode here on the U.S.S. Shenzhou in 1/2500 scale. Today we're going to go ahead and finish off this kit, get the base wrapped up and see how it turns out. So last episode we did a lot of work with the decals. We used those kind of sheet style decals, got them all over the actual ship. It went on well. I didn't have any real issues with them. But now we have to come back and do a little bit of touch up. I've noticed there's a couple of areas that just didn't have any decals, so they lack any azteking whatsoever. Those areas would be on the undersurface of the saucer, a little bit on the nacelles, and then also on the top portion of the saucer as well. So all in here, all of this needs to be azteced, as well as the upper portion right here, and then a few areas here and there over the rest of the model. That of course means we have to figure out a way in order to make azteking, and that's not necessarily going to be easy. My first instinct, of course, is to go to tape. Go ahead and trace out some lines, cut some intricate details, and then use that as a mask. That would be very possible. I think that's a really great way to start. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. I also have some Aztec patterns that I printed up years and years and years ago for the Enterprise B, and I might be able to use those as a template to go ahead and give us a little bit of a different variation on the Aztec markings. So eventually I'll have to find those and cut those out, and then we can go ahead and use these as masks and just airbrush over top of these with some extra dark sea gray. That's going to give us a nice contrast. At least that's what I'm assuming. So let's go ahead and jump into that first time lapse, guys. Get the Aztec painting done, figure out what masks we're going to use, and then get all of that painted and then overcoat it, seal it up with a nice gloss coat of future. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this started, see what we can do. All right, everybody, so we are back and the Shenzhou is drying off camera. We've got a nice overcoat of gloss on there that's going to seal in all the azteking and of course the decals. The Aztecs came out okay. They're not perfect, but I think they're going to give you kind of that artistic feeling, so I'm good with it. We're going to go ahead and just move on with some of the extra sub-assemblies. And the major one we have to go ahead and work on here is the deflector dish. The deflector dish actually is quite a lot of PE parts, which is not necessarily great, but it's hopefully going to look pretty cool once I go ahead and build it up. So let's go ahead ahead and get on into it. Now the photo etch itself, there's actually 3 different parts that are all kind of layered on top of each other and then glued on top of the initial disc that comes out of the kit. That's actually a clear part as well. So we're going to go ahead and just cut out each of those individual parts, and then we can just start gluing them down bit by bit and layer the entire area. We also have to go ahead and build up the 2 little, I guess, probes that come out of the front of the dish, and those look like they're going to be a little tedious because they're so tiny, and they actually want you to build 2 of them out of 4 different pieces. They have to kind of sandwich them together to make them, I guess, a little thicker. That's not necessarily something I'm looking forward to, so we'll see what we can do when we get there. But worst comes to worst, we'll just use the outer portions of it and just call it a day. Again, I'm not a huge fan of photo etch, but in this case, all the photo etch I've gotten out of this green strawberry kit has been absolutely beautiful. It does take a little bit of patience and it is super tedious, but I think if you put in the time, especially for like these Star Trek ships, it really gives you an awesome look. So we're gonna go ahead and just finish off this little area here, and then hopefully we can get this nicely glued into place and we're not gonna lose half of it. Okay, so we've gone ahead and built up the rest of the deflector dish. A little tedious there, but we have it. So you can see it's going to eventually glue down somewhere right around here, right here in the front. Truth be told, I've actually lost the sprue that has the deflector dish antennas on them. So we're going to have to just use a photo etch. And I'm going to probably have to build up a little bit of some connection point just to make sure that this dish fits exactly where it needs to be. I don't know if I like the look of it too much, but it's okay. We do have to come back and paint it though. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use the same color as I used for the outer portions of the azteking, that nice extra dark sea gray. That's going to be beautiful. I think we'll paint that over because all the references I have show that to be a different color, a very dark gray. Now, speaking of the base, the first thing I want to go ahead and do is cut a little piece of this brass tubing that I'm going to use to hold up the Shenzhou. All the wires are going to go ahead and thread down through the middle of this and then pop out into the base, and we're going to have to figure out what to do for that base. That's the big hurdle that we have next to tackle. So we got a couple of ideas, and I'm going to see what kind of comes to mind, and we're going to jump into another time lapse and start working on that base, on the stand, and then we're going to go ahead and get the weathering done here on the Shenzhou by using some AK panel liners just to kind of darken it down, dirty up just a little bit. And then I want to go ahead and overcoat everything with a nice flat coat, hook everything together, solder it up, and we will be back with what I hope to be a finished U.S.S. Shenzhou. Let's keep pushing. All right, everybody, we are back, and I gotta tell you, it has been 8 long weeks working on this Shenzhou, but man, this was such a fun project, really. Honestly, it was. I had a blast. Even though the photo etch was a little tedious, we got that on, we got in tons of lights, at least for us, and we were able to go ahead and use those sheet decals. I think it looks pretty cool. It's not perfect, but let me go ahead and show you what we got. This is our 1/2500 scale U.S.S. Shenzhou, all finished up and mounted onto our custom base. Now, this is one of those things where I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do for the base, so I actually just went online and I found a picture by Timothy Peel that worked pretty well. It's actually a replica of, I believe, a design that came right off of the U.S.S. Shenzhou there in the show. I did a little Photoshop on it, I shrunk it down a little bit, and I glued it on there, so it looks the part, and I think it matches the ship nicely. Let's get you a close-up here. As you can see, we have a very clean-looking base. There's no switch. That's because I left the switchable battery pack as its main source of power. Everything else, I think, is honestly very clean, very smooth, but as you can see, the lights do work. There is a fine mesh that I glued over each of the impulse engines. That is also in the photo etch set, so we are supposed to do that. Everything else, though, looks awesome. I love it. I think the decals turned out to be a really nice addition. We've got all the red lights there for the impulse, for the warp nacelles, and then, of course, the different internal lights, lower saucer as well as the upper saucer, bridge, and then, of course, we have the purple-violet that's right there by the deflector dish. Now, let's talk a little bit about the azteking here on the edge of the saucer. There was 2 schools of thought on that. There was either nothing there or something there. This image right here actually has a dark gray band that runs the entire circumference of the saucer. I decided to split the difference and we did a dark gray azteking band. I think it looks pretty cool. May not be accurate, but I'm okay with that. We also did something very similar on the nacelles themselves, a little bit of azteking there just to give it a bit of extra detail. We also did a similar technique here on the edges and tops of the warp nacelles and also the undersurface of the saucer. I just wanted to make sure to add in just a little bit extra azteking to kind of tie it all together, and I used that extra dark sea gray so that it kind of matches the idea of the references that I had. Like I said, it's not perfect, guys. It's not 100% accurate to the show, but I think it actually still looks pretty cool. So now the big moment though, let's go ahead and go over to a low light situation and show you how the lights look when it's all dark in the room. And here we go. Again, I apologize for the horrible quality of my low light. I don't have a camera that does that very well. As you can see, the lights actually are pretty bright. We've got that nice red glow that kind of starts at the very front of the nacelles, works its way backwards. We've got those front deflector dish lights that illuminate in that really cool violet color. We've got the red there on the impulse engines that actually shine through a mesh, so it looks kind of cool, at least in real life. And then, of course, we have the undersurface with all the saucer lights, and then, of course, that main center bridge light. The secondary hull looks pretty good as well, and then, of course, towards the rear of the ship as well, with the lower hull and the very back of the upper hull. So honestly, yeah, this thing is pretty cool. I am still very surprised that I was able to mash that many lights on the inside, and there's a part of me that kind of wishes I had tried the shuttle bay. I think I'm going to save that for the other Shenzhou that I have in my collection. Besides, I needed all the room I could possibly get out of there. But that is it, guys. I got to tell you, this was a great build. I had so much fun building this little kit, and I got to give a big shout out to Kenny over at HLI for sending me the green strawberry photo etch set. I was not anticipating doing that for this particular model. I am so glad that I did. This thing was a blast. We're going to put this in the display case, and we'll be back on the next episode with a brand new build. Until then, guys, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on a brand new season of Ben Builds Sci-Fi Wednesdays. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.